If just 10 years ago you brought your 11-year-old daughter to the doctor and told the physician, she says she's a boy, and if the doctor got back to you and said, well, in response to her claim, we're going to remove her breasts and stop her puberty, you would know you're not dealing with a doctor at all, but a witch doctor, and you would probably call the authorities. Wasn't that long ago? Well, now the authorities themselves are saying exactly the same thing. Here is someone you may recognize, the Assistant Secretary of Health, Rachel Levine, telling you that blocking a child's puberty, the most natural of all progressions in life, isn't bad, isn't grotesque, isn't an attack on nature, isn't life-threatening. No, it's instead life-saving. Watch.
Gender-affirming care is life-saving, medically necessary, age-appropriate, and a critical tool for healthcare providers. As a pediatrician, when it comes to making sure kids are healthy and happy, I know how important care that affirms someone's true identity can be.
Yeah. Notice that's our top doctor standing in front of a DNC backdrop, if you'd like to know how politicized medicine has become, thoroughly, totally, completely, and gravely. But no matter how much they tell you that it's totally normal to change your sex, even though it's biologically impossible, most people don't buy it, and most people are outraged, horrified by the idea that kids, prepubescent kids, are getting these so-called treatments. But they are. Doctors and hospitals deny it, but we know for a fact it's happening thanks to one brave physician called Eitan Haim. He works at Texas Children's Hospital, or did. And while he was there, he found that that hospital was secretly performing sex change procedures on children while, again, denying it to the public. So he went public and told the rest of the country what was happening. And he found himself immediately targeted for prosecution by the state of Texas. And he is not bowing in any way. Dr. Haim joins us right now. Doctor, thank you so much for coming on. So there are two parts of the story that I think are shocking and worth hearing about in detail. The first is what you found, and the second is what happened to you personally after. Can you start with the first? What did you discover working there?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
But when I was working at Texas Children's Hospital, I was a surgical resident, which means I was in my training phase to become a board-certified surgeon. And while I was working there, the hospital had released a statement in March of 2022 that said they were unequivocally shutting down their transgender program because of the legal risks. And I quickly found out this was a complete lie, completely untrue. Just 3 days after that, they had placed a puberty blocking device into an 11-year-old girl. And I knew this because I worked at the hospital. I knew the people who were doing these procedures. They had told me about it. And I saw the frequency of these procedures increasing over the next couple of months. And then you see the directors of a program that supposedly does not exist given the opportunity to speak at the hospital's most prestigious lecture series. So they would teach these general pediatricians how to ask these children about their gender identity behind the backs of their parents. They would perpetuate the lie that either these kids have to adopt a false identity, become chronic medical patients, or they're going to kill themselves. And when I understood the extent of the deception that was happening, that Texas Children's Hospital told the public they were shutting down this program in March of 2022, but behind closed doors, they did the exact opposite. They increased the scope of its practice and prioritized it to the highest levels. I knew I had a responsibility to do something about that. I had a responsibility as a surgeon, as an individual. So I had to make it known to the public. And that's when I had reached out to Christopher Rufo, who broke the story on May 16th, 2023.
I've always wondered, and no one's ever really explained it to me adequately, but since you work there, I'll ask you, what do you think the motive was? Why would anyone want to do this to a child, do you think?
I think it's different for different people. I think there's some people who know that it's inherently wrong. And it's easy to sway those people with possible financial benefits, because it can be something that's very lucrative, because you have all these specialties, you're seeing all these patients. But then I think the more important component is an ideology, where people have bought into this idea that they can play God, that they can create this new type of human. And for them, it provides a meaning, because there's something missing in their life, and they have to fill it with something. They have to believe in something. Because for me, I just don't think that a person could do that to a child without really, really believing in it.
Yes.
And that's the most awful thing, because these kids are going to grow up, and one day they're going to look back and say, the people who were supposed to love me and protect me were the ones who had put me in the most risk, which is unforgivable.
Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that